Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm State Senator Rebecca Millett, the co-chair of the Commission to study college affordability and college completion. Just glancing around the room, you can see that this issue of college affordability is an issue that spans beyond just a young person issue. It is a concern for students of all ages and their families. It's a concern for the employers who lack a skilled workforce. And it's a concern for all of us who want an economically prosperous state. There was a time when going to college was that ticket to opportunity. If you studied hard and worked hard, a college degree would follow. And with that degree, many more doors would open. Unfortunately, life is not that straightforward anymore. For too many Mainers, the cost of college has now become an obstacle, preventing too many of our young people from even going to college, and preventing even more from being able to stay in college. And for those who do make it through to earn their degree, many are saddled with oppressive college debt that delays them from doing things like getting married, buying a car, or owning their own home. This crippling debt not only hurts our students, but it also is suppressing our economy. We should all be concerned when we hear that young adults are reaching the middle class at a far slower rate than before. In the 1980s, young adults reached the middle of the wage distribution at an average age of 26. Currently, they do not reach this point until age 30. But we have to look at the other side of this issue as well. Why are costs rising? Well, at the time when we should be investing more dollars into education, the state's investment for our state universities and community colleges have been anemic, as has our investment in the state grant program. And so the net effect is that tuition, room, and board expenses have escalated rapidly over the past decade, while wages have stagnated. And so these are the challenges that lawmakers, students, parents, and education experts discussed over the past 6 months. Today, you will hear from some of them. Today, you will hear about our shared frustration, but most importantly, you will hear about our shared vision and commitment for solving this challenge of affordability and attainment. And now I'd like to introduce you to State Representative Matthea Daughtry, the Commission's co-chair.
Thank you, Senator Millett. Good afternoon, I'm Matthea Daughtry, and I represent House District 49, which is part of Brunswick. I'm the co-chair of the Commission to study college affordability and college completion, and also co-chair of the Maine Youth Caucus. I'm here before you today because too many young people who have committed to getting a college education are finding themselves trapped in crippling financial debt. This is a nationwide epidemic, especially for Americans under the age of 35. We're the oldest state in the nation, and we need to do all we can to ensure that young Mainers have a place in our economy. College debt is strangling my generation. For more and more fields of employment, a college degree is seen as a requirement for financial and career success. Maine's workforce has a skills gap, and the jobs of the future will require increasing amounts of college degrees. Various research and advocacy organizations have calculated that between 50 and 60% of Maine's population will need some sort of post-secondary credential by 2025 in order for our economy to function. Currently, only 39% of Mainers have a college degree, and those degrees are increasingly difficult to afford. It is deterring many young people from seeking their college degrees and creating a chain reaction that for the first time in history will leave the next generation worse off than those who came before. Young Mainers are often unable to go into the careers that they would like to due to the price. For example, the amount of college debt that one has to incur to become a teacher compared to Maine's starting salary for teachers often puts a damper on many who would choose to go into that field. Many have described millennials as, well, failing to launch. And it's easy to understand that term when one looks at what we face after graduation. Graduating with an average of $20,000 in debt means that many put the next steps of life on hold. Most move back in with their parents since they can't afford to live anywhere else. Others can't afford to purchase a car, get married, purchase a house, or even save for a family. This has a devastating impact on our economy. Young adults are making up less of the labor force. the current rate of young people in the labor market is at the same level as 1972, despite a much larger population. Young Mainers are facing an uphill battle, and college debt is a major burden in what is setting our generation and our state back. So that's why we're here today. Our commission met with students, parents, graduates, stranded learners, college representatives, financial aid representatives, and key stakeholders from across the higher education landscape. We tried to fully understand the challenges facing Maine students and sought to find ways to remove the barriers to a college degree. Our 13-member panel has endorsed a set of 10 recommendations that will start to reverse this devastating trend of student debt and help put Maine's economy on the right track. We've agreed that the state needs to set specific degree attainment goals and come up with a plan to reach them. In order to reach those goals, we've highlighted the importance of the pre-K through 12 system to ensure that our high school students are academically ready for college. To encourage students to complete their degrees, we've asked our public institutions to adapt the innovative game-changer strategies from Complete College America and see how they would work with their institutions. And in order to make the true price of college more transparent, we've asked all Maine colleges and universities to publish a list of average class fees by major in order that people can plan for their degree. To help combat the rising prices of textbooks, we've encouraged all institutions to partner to develop open education resources, textbook co-ops, or free or reduced cost digital textbooks options. And to keep tuition low, we've asked that the budget requests of our public institutions be fully funded. And to lower the costs, we've called for an increase to the Maine State Grant Program from around $1,000, where it's roughly been since 1992, to $2,500. And then to ensure that we are encouraging students to complete their degrees on time, we are asking that the grant will be structured on a tiered system that provides an additional $250 for every year that a student stays enrolled. It's crucial for our state to have accessible and affordable higher education options. The time for action is now. The long-term health of Maine and our economy hangs in the balance. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Representative Daughtry. So we have a great list of individuals who have agreed to speak to you about their own personal experiences, and we're going to start off with Joey Blanchard, who is a student.
Hello, I'm Joey Blanchard. I'm currently a student at Central Maine Community College. I'm in the transition period and going to another college. It used to be St. Joe's, but some things have come up, so I'm thinking about switching that. And this is an articulation agreement that will allow me to do 3 years at Central Maine Community College and 1 year at a different college of my choice, hopefully. And this will end up saving me an additional year of tuition at another college, which is significantly higher than Central Maine Community College's tuition. Once I graduate, I intend to go into the military and then hopefully get either recruited or apply for the Federal Bureau of Investigations. When I was in high school thinking about what I wanted to do after I graduated, I knew that I wanted to go to college because it would give me more opportunities that I wanted. I looked around and saw my friends, and they didn't really have the ambition that I had, and a lot of them now are not in college and are either working at Walmart or someplace that there is no room for promotion or any real success. The motivation that I had really came from my family and my sisters, and I use that every day to kind of push me through let's say the hazards of debt. Currently, I work about 40 hours. I work as an RA in the dorms. I work at Sunday River on the weekends, or 2 weekends a month, because 2 weekends I'm required to work as an RA. And I also work as a security officer in the school, about 8 hours a week. So that really piles on, plus being enrolled in 5 classes. So it's pretty hard, but motivation and hard work will get it done. I moved around a lot growing up. I didn't come from a lot of money, so I knew that I really was going to have a hard time going to college, but that wasn't going to stop me because going to college is going to help myself get more money, a better job, where I want to go in life. College is required. I've been able to take advantage of grants, but it wasn't really quite enough to satisfy the entire cost. So I had to take out some loans that I will have to pay back when I get out, which I can see as challenging because I have to pay back the loans plus all of the other expenses of living, phone bill, car bill, living expenses in general. I've never allowed myself to consider dropping out of college. I know in order to someday work in the Federal Bureau of Investigations, I needed to do whatever it took to go to college because obviously it's required to do that job. So dropping out was not a option for me. I worry about how I'm going to pay for everything. I'm a pretty straightforward person, so I use that to know kind of where I'm going to go in the future and how I'm going to do things. Plus, like I said before, having my sisters there to help me along the way and my family. I believe my degree is the first step in making that happen, getting a criminal justice degree. So, thank you for listening to my story, and thank you to all the people on this commission for helping us solve this problem for myself and others.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, we're going to hear from Erica Frederick-Rock, who is also a student.
Hi, my name is Erica Frederick-Rock. I'm currently a senior at University of Maine here in Augusta, biology major, and I'm your very non-traditional student. I actually got home last night at 11:30 because I'm on the UMaine basketball team as a 6-year-old, and I played 36 minutes last night, so I'm a little sore today as well. And we have our final home game tonight, so hopefully this doesn't go really, really long. I started college right out of high school. I grew up here in Augusta, so I went to Coney. I was raised by a single father who, he never pushed college on me. He didn't go to college, but I just knew that it was something that I had to do in order to basically succeed in life. You can't do much, unfortunately, without a college education nowadays. So I went to University of Hartford for my first semester in Hartford. I was a political science major. I wanted to go into law and public policy. But my second semester, I transferred up to Orono for cost reasons. Like I said, I was raised by a single father, and I didn't want him to have to bear the brunt of my college education. After my first year of college, I really took a hard I sat down and really thought about what I wanted to do and realized I really didn't know at 19 what it was that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I didn't want to have my father pay for me not knowing. So I joined the military. I was in the military for a couple of years. I joined the military because it was a great balance between how I could get an education and how I could be self-sufficient and support myself without having to worry about anybody else do that for me. Unfortunately, I got out of the military prior to qualifying for my GI Bill. So now that I'm back in school, I don't get to take advantage of that. Got out of the military and went back to college part-time. Unfortunately, I was attending a rather expensive college, Champlain College in Vermont, because I wanted to, I had a mind for business and I have a mind for numbers and science. So I was going for accounting and paying a lot of money. Work helped cover 2 classes a semester because I was working at Bank of America at the time in banking and finance. But I was working 40 plus hours a week, commuting an hour to work, and still trying to maintain at least 3 classes a semester, and it just wasn't working out for me. After about 2 years of doing that, attending classes part-time while I worked, I realized I really didn't want to sit behind a desk for the rest of my life, and I was spending a lot of money on my college education, and I handed in my resignation letter at work because I wanted to go back to school full-time to go into healthcare, and I couldn't do that while working. A lot of the healthcare biology classes, you have to attend required labs. I couldn't just take time off of work. So I did that, and I basically jumped right into college 3 years ago, head first. I chose University of Maine at Augusta because I knew that I was already about $35,000 in student loan debt at the time, and I knew I couldn't tack on much more than that. So I chose University of Maine at Augusta because of their cost, and I live in Augusta, and it's they have a great biology program. I live basically off of student loans. I work 20 hours a week, but I also have 2 children, and so I work 20 hours a week, and I'm a teaching assistant for 2 professors on campus in order to help cover the cost of a lot of things. I received 1 scholarship a year that covers half-time, and I've only received that for the past 2 years, and that's because I'm the president of the honors program on campus. So if there's anything that we can do in order to defray the cost of student tuition for especially people such as myself who later in life realize that they're not quite where they want to be, that'd be amazing. One of the things, I'm friends with the people who run the bookstore on campus, and as we all know, textbooks, the cost of them is just absolutely horrendous. And I feel bad because I don't buy my books at the student bookstore. You know, it's a comparison of, do I spend $217 for a new textbook on campus because I can't rent it or get a used copy, or do I go online to an outside source and rent it for $63? You know, so I'm not helping my university at all, which kind of, you know, it saddens me, but at the same time I have to look out for my costs and what I'm dealing with in life. So I want to thank everybody here for asking me to speak today, and thank you all for listening to, you know, my story. And I really hope that we're able to come to some sort of agreement in helping with everything. My goal after this is I graduate in May, so my goal is to go to graduate school for my master's in public health and nurse practitioner, but I already know that I'm over $50,000. I'm maxed out right now in student loans. Like, I've been told by FAFSA that I qualify for no more loans. So if something were to happen to me this semester and I can't complete my schooling, I'm paying out of pocket from now on for my bachelor's, which I think that's crazy for, you know, people who want to go to school and want to get an education and better themselves and better the community around them. You know, by having that degree, that, you know, they're going to say, you can't do it, we can't help you. So if I didn't have to pay such high costs in the past, it probably would have been a lot easier now. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Erica. I should mention that we have heard from Erica and Joey in front of the commission for testimony, and we were also very fortunate to hear from Mr. Brown, who is now going to be speaking to us.
Hi there. My name is Richard Brown. I live here in Augusta, and I have a son Shane at Hudson College. He's a marketing student, but he wants to go into public relations, hopefully on his graduation. I don't know how far we'll get after graduation. Probably want to go to graduate school somewhere. My wife and I raised him so that he can do anything, you know. And he's really showed that kind of integrity, especially in college. He's been on the dean's list most of the time, and we're pretty proud of him. He's pushing for a degree, and he has had some help with grants. He's got FAFSA loans, just like everybody else. And the school, new School of Communications in Hudson, they try to limit what they'll have to pay afterwards. it may or may not work out. We don't really know. I hope so. It hasn't been easy because I had on retirement through a medical disability from older work and Malika's disability. So we worked a little bit, get very little pay, and very little, a few hours on a part-time basis, and difficult to pay an equal share of health him. Thankfully, the Maine State Grant has helped him along the way, and really appreciate that. Helps relieve him, helps relieve us, find the financial strain, and every dollar available for she to pay for college just relieves us. I can't say enough about the good things the Maine Grant Association grant program. It's a huge help for my son and so many others. And I do also think it's kind of a requirement. I hope that, grant gets boosted so that more kids, just like him, who have the integrity, have the smart thing, can help greatly in recover. And that's pretty much all I can say. There's a lot of kids that need it.
On the commission, we were joined by our higher education institutions, including the independent nonprofits, the Maritime, Maine Community College System, and the Maine University Maine System, and we will be hearing next from Chancellor Page.
I'll be very brief. We talked about the challenges of affordability, and one of the reasons we emphasize this is because behind this is the greatest opportunity that Maine has for its future. The stories that you've been hearing today from these students, I want to thank them for all stepping forward. It's not easy to hear the full microphones always, but could be multiplied by the hundreds and thousands of similar stories about how students are trying to negotiate their way, understanding full well that education is the key to their future. Maine is very fortunate that this is not a partisan issue. We all agree. The question is, in our state, how do we work together? How do we muster our resources for the benefit of our students of whatever age they may be in helping move their careers and their lives forward? I'd like to extend my thanks to the commission, to the Joint Committee, for the work that they've done. Not only do we at the university system think that the particular recommendations are important and critical, and we sign on to them wholeheartedly, but just as importantly, the work of the committee has brought together in a focused way so many parties who need now to move forward together in addressing each in our own way how we're going to address this point. The University of Maine system, for example, has led the nation for the last 5 years in rate of tuition increases for students, i.e. it's the lowest rate in the nation. That's part of what we're doing, and that effort can be replicated throughout our various institutions. But none of us have the abilities to solve the statewide, to address the statewide problem individually. It's this kind of effort of working together that we're going to make real progress, both for our students and for the state as a whole. So, again, my thanks to the committee and to the colleagues.
Thank you, Chancellor. Next, we're going to hear from Representative Pouliot, who served on the commission.
Thank you, Senator Millett. Good afternoon. I'm Representative Matt Pouliot. I represent District 86, West and North Augusta. I'm co-chair of the Maine Youth Caucus and a member of the Commission to Study College Affordability and Completion. 1.2 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T. That was the amount of student loan debt as of 2013. It is a number that has tripled in the last decade alone. In fact, Student loans have passed credit cards and auto loans to become the second biggest source of personal debt in the United States. That is absurd. The cost of college is in some ways not the worst of it. Let's take it a step further. Let's suppose for a moment that you have amounted some level of student loan debt. You're out of school and you've not completed your degree. This is the reality for many Maine people. In fact, it's a reality for about 250,000 Maine people who have started some form of post-secondary education but haven't completed that training. They are stranded learners. This grim reality forces us to study not only affordability in our commission, but also completion. Future generations deserve better and need real higher education reform, and they need it now. To increase degree completion, we required the Board of Trustees for the University of Maine system, the Maine Community College system, and the Maine Maritime Academy to report back to the Joint Standing Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs by July 1st, 2015, regarding their reactions to the game changer strategies and how the state of Maine could assist in implementation of these strategies. These game changer strategies have been developed by Complete College America, and they include 5 key elements. These elements are performance funding, pay for performance, not just enrollment. Tie state funding to student progression through programs and completion of degrees and certificates. Include financial incentives to encourage the success of low-income students and the production of graduates in high-demand fields. Second, co-requisite remediation. Default many more unprepared students into college-level gateway courses with mandatory, just-in-time instructional support. Combine reading and writing instruction. Align mathematics to programs of study, matching the curriculum to real-world career needs. 3, full-time is 15. Incentivize students to attend full-time and ensure that full-time means 15 credits per semester. Use banded tuition so 15 credits per semester costs no more than 12 credits. Also, ensure that students can easily transfer their credits. Structured schedules is the 4th one. Help working students, who some of them we've heard from today, balance jobs and school by using structured scheduling of classes to add predictability to their busy lives. Doing so enables many more students to attend college full-time, shortening their time to completion. And 5th, guided pathways to success. Enabled by technology, default all students into highly structured degree plans, not individual courses. Start students in a limited number of meta majors, which narrow into specific majors. Map out every semester of study for the entire program, and guarantee that milestone courses will be available when needed. Use built-in early warning systems to alert advisors when students fall behind and to ensure efficient intervention. Now is the time for these important reforms. We must all get on the college affordability and completion bandwagon with a one-way ticket. The growth of our economy and the prosperity of our future generations depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, all of our speakers. I'd like to wrap up and open it up to questions.
Senator Millett, what's the progression now of where the recommendations go in terms of making the legislature?
So we are, Representative Daughtry and I are going to be presenting to the Joint Standing Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs when we wrap up here. And then the Education Committee will discuss and decide whether it would like to report out of legislation as it's empowered to do in the resolve. Any other questions?
I do. I have one. Don Kerrigan from Channel 6. In terms of direct, I guess I would say short-term impact on the cost of education, what of your proposals has the most actual impact? And obviously, you're really you're focusing principally on students who attend in-state institutions. I realize the grants can go to other places too, but in-state institutions. So what has the most actual dollar impact?
I would say that the Maine State Grant Program really has the power to create meaningful and immediate change. As I stated before, the grant has sort of been stagnated around $1,000 since roughly 1992. In 1992, that helped pay for almost your entire community college tuition. now for some majors, it barely covers one textbook. By increasing it to $2,500, we'll be able to close that unaffordability gap. The commission looked at, with what federal financial aid that is available and in-state financial aid, we mapped it out for various economic levels for different families to see how much money was left, that there was no help for these students, and it was over $2,500. We needed basically $4,000. So allocating just $2,500 will help get rid of that initial financial hurdle.
But is an additional $1,500, and is that per year or per semester?
That is per year,
Per year.
and then an additional $250 for each year that they stay enrolled.
Okay. Does that actually mean students won't be graduating with $20,000 in debt? I mean, if it's,
It will be a start, and it can definitely shave off a significant portion. I mean, the example I use personally is I was an art major. My Western survey, my Western art history textbook cost over $400. That was $400 I didn't have. I worked as a farmer, a waitress, and a journalist that summer, and I didn't have in my bank account. I found a recycled copy in a dumpster, and that was $400 that I didn't have to take out in loans and that I could use to survive on. So, it doesn't sound like a lot when we're in a building where we're discussing, billion-dollar budgets, but $400, even $2,500 can mean the difference between eating and not eating for a college student. So yes, I think it would make a significant difference in their lives.
Question for Erica, just on your military service. What was your, what role did you have in the military? What was your job?
I was a Korean and Russian linguist, so I was a cryptologic linguist.
For the whole time?
Yes. Yeah, I went to school in California. All four branches of the service were there, and they taught us our respective languages that we were speaking in the military.
Remind me how many years you served?
I was just under 2.
Any other questions?
How does this affect students who are getting their graduate degrees or a law degree and not just an undergraduate? Do they also qualify for these same types of grants?
So the Maine State Grant Program is only for bachelor's degrees, unfortunately at this moment. That is something I would love to examine. But the open educational resources, reducing the cost of textbooks and also fully funding our public institutions' budgets will really help programs like, for example, the Muskie School of Public Policy, Maine Law, by ensuring that they're able to keep faculty on and keep tuition low. I think really fully funding our public institutions' budgets is going to be a huge impetus towards keeping tuition low.
I'd just like to add that this conversation is not over. The commission recommendation to the education committee is that every 2 years they do an analysis to see how we are doing, if we're losing ground, or if we're actually making some forward progress, and to look at other potential options. So this is not just a one-shot deal. We're going to be continuing this effort.
Well, I'd like to invite everyone to the presentation.
We're all done. Thank you, everyone.